Ohio's Small Business Spotlight, where every single week we do our very best to introduce you to the backbone of our community, the small business entrepreneur. I'm your host, Tony Miltenberger, along with my co host, Greg Fay. Greg, tell everyone who's on the podcast this week.
I'm excited for this one right here. Bryan Hunter, the owner of 937 Payroll. He's my payroll dude. And I think when we get started on this, you're going to see why I like him. There are so many things that he does differently. I won't let the cat out of the bag yet. The questions that we ask will lead right up to it. But he does it in a way. I've owned 3 different businesses where I've needed payroll. And he does it in a way that I've never seen before. So I'm excited for this one. Welcome aboard, Bryan Hunter.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate you having me.
Bryan, I want to jump right into your origin story. One of the things that I found on your website that I just absolutely love is the pictures of downtown Dayton. One of the things that you said when founding in 2017 is that local is better. Not all entrepreneurs will take that approach. Some will say, saving money is better or profit is better. I love the idea that local is better. Tell us the origin story of where that statement came from.
Yeah, I mean, the origin story of that statement and kind of the origin story of myself as a company is kind of intertwined in the same thing in that, we're all a product of our experiences and our upbringing, the community that's around us, and especially in a service-based business, it's all about people, right? It's about helping our clients out. It's about our reputation. And, just in my experience and the prior employers that I've worked for, I found that the thing that's lacking in my industry is that personal touch. Is lacking is the care, the follow through, the accountability. And it's like, hey, if the technology is the same, if the price is the same, wouldn't you rather deal with somebody local? And that's kind of my first 60 clients that I signed up. That was the entire pitch. I was like, these things are the same, but you can get local customer service, and I'm actually going to care about you. I'm actually going to pay attention to what's going on in your business and how payroll intersects with accounting and the rest of your company. Right, let's go. So I definitely attribute a large part of my success to the Dayton community and the surrounding suburbs.
Well, I'm going to attest immediately to what Bryan says, and I'm going to use personal experience. And when he says that he gets involved, I have used Bryan for 2 different businesses now. And I didn't realize when he helped me with my first business, him, the owner, was the first face I saw. He was the one who onboarded me. And then he worked seamlessly with his staff to finish up all of the things payroll related, from workers' comp to taxes to everything. I was impressed by that, but I was re-impressed when we enrolled my son's business in his payroll. And it reminded me, I think, Bryan, I've been with you for about 5 years, so I had forgotten, but when we went through my son's payroll, it reminded me of his attention to detail, him being the face of the business. Bryan, why do you take that approach? It seems like the answer would be simple, but if it were so simple, everybody would be doing it. Why are so few doing it, but you still, 9 years in, just onboarded my son? Yours was the first face I saw, and you handled it and then handed it seamlessly to your staff. Why?
I think it comes from a place where you really want to make sure that people are taken care of, and you want to make sure that the level of service that you would expect to be given yourself is being given to your client. And I've always felt like being that first person that the clients talk to, and having been in the industry for 15 years, and I have a great staff, but none of them have been in the industry as long as I have. And I want to be able to impart that knowledge on that. And I want to be able to help them to the best level that I can. And I feel like the foundation that's created when I bring on a new client is so important to the ongoing success of that business, that I really want to make sure that foundation is solid. And I found that so many people, just to your question, like, why aren't more people doing that? I found that so many people whether it be professional development or corporate environment, wherever it is, are so interested in moving on to that next thing. What's
Mhm.
next promotion I can get? What's that next role that I can take within this company? And so few people are committed to the long staying power of doing one thing for a long period of time well. And I made a conscious choice when, and I can go back in the story, but kind of my origin story, I made a conscious choice at some point in my career to say, I'm done bouncing around. I'm not going on to the next thing. I am here in small business payroll, and this is where I'm going to make my mark. And I'm going to continue to focus on this every single day. And it's hard as an entrepreneur because we have shiny object syndrome, right? We're like, hey, I want to go chase that next thing. And I'm guilty of it too. I have that. I'm like, oh, I want to work on that project. I want to work on that project. But at the end of the day, this is my foundational item. This is my bread and butter. This is the thing that I hang my hat on, that we deliver a high level of service of payroll and HR for small businesses. And I think that's why it's so important to me. And I've tried harder over the years to delegate more and to have other team members handle other parts of the process. And it's not always easy because I'm so committed to saying, like, I want to take care of people, and this is who I am as part of my identity.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about your particular line of work is that it's one of those things when I talk to business owners, everybody knows they need, nobody wants to pay for. And it's in some ways it's like becoming an adult as an entrepreneur. Like, oh, I've got to get a payroll service now. So how does somebody, going back to your origin story, how does somebody get excited about saying, man, I want to help entrepreneurs with something that they hate, and I believe I can do it better. And oh, by the way, I know that everyone's pricing around payroll options all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I wish that my story was that cool. I wish it was that cool that I was like, oh, payroll, like that's the thing that I'm going
That's
to
the
do. And
thing.
I'm going to be the payroll guy. Yeah, that's not the case. I think, we're all a product of our experiences. And for me, my dad started an accounting firm in 94 when I was 10 years old in the basement of my house. And he served small businesses, the small businesses, 2 million or less in revenue, 20 employees or less. And we would just talk shop. Like, we would go to lunch when I was in high school, and I would just ask him about the business. I was genuinely curious all the time. Like, what do you got going on? Who are your clients? What kind of things are you doing for them? And I went to Ohio State, and I came home during the summer, and I would do telemarketing and set appointments for him. And then after college, left, took a job in my with my degree, but ultimately came home and started working for dad, selling accounting services for him. And I just had this desire to help my dad and to help him grow his business. And in doing so, realized, wait, I have a skill set now. I
Mm,
understand accounting a bit. I understand payroll because I just started the payroll division of his company. And ultimately went to go work for ADP, worked for them for 3 years. And then after working for them, was like, hey, did it for dad, did it for ADP, I can do this for myself. And, started a business around that. And so it, my real passion is helping business owners. I like the consulting aspect of it. Payroll is just a tool to do that.
yeah,
I don't love payroll. I
that's
don't
good.
love taxes. I'm knowledgeable on that. I'm knowledgeable on HR, but that's not the passion part. The passion part is, let's help small businesses. And I've always been like that. I'd much rather have a client that I can use their insurance services, or I can go eat in their restaurant, than have some corporation that, I'm never there. I never see what they're doing. And being able to connect with the business like that, um, is exciting for me. And that's what gets me up every single day. That's what makes me excited every single day.
Well, yeah, I had a question prepared, but you said something that both Tony and I embrace 100%. So I'm gonna pivot to that comment right there. It's a value add. I've known Tony now for many years, and in dealing with him as a dear friend, And he's a business coach. And we laughed today. We had lunch and talked about how people don't realize that they need a business coach, much like they don't realize they need payroll. So you're providing a value add. The audience here is business owners, Bryan. In that value add, can you elaborate a little bit on some of the value that you can add to a business owner? Because you make yourself stand head and shoulders above everybody else when you're not just the payroll guy. Tony is the executive coaching guy. I'm the relationship guy. Everybody calls me and wants to know, who's the best of this, who's the best of that. What's your value add? What do you see business owners and their need? What do you point out to them? What can you teach them on this podcast right here?
So I'll keep it high level. And then if you wanted me to dive into specifics, I can dive into specifics because I could talk for next 6 hours on this topic, right? But so many payroll providers out there, the large ones, ADPs, the Paycors, the Paylocities of the world, are treating payroll like a commodity. They're just going through the motions with it. And it's not a commodity. This is a tool in your business, and how we use this tool will positively or negatively impact your bottom line. And there are other things that go with that tool that touch it where we can add value. And in no particular order, I'll just start listing them off and just kind of rapid fire. So before we started this podcast, Tony and I were talking about how he files as an S corp. So if you are an officer of a business and you are profitable and over a certain limit, then you can save money on Social Security and Medicare taxes by taking a reasonable salary, paying yourself as a W-2 employee. And on a business that makes $100,000 in profit, you could save somewhere around $7,600 in taxes just by filing as an S corp instead of a sole proprietorship. So we have conversations around that. Ohio BWC, Ohio is a unique state. We're only one of 4 states in the country that are monopolistic. You can get up to a 53% discount on your workers' comp premiums. So many people see that and they think, oh, that's another sales thing. They're trying to sell me on some discount program. No, like you should probably get that because it's going to save you money. You're going to pay more if you don't have that applied to your policy. So let's make sure you do that early and let's get it done. Let's not let that slip through the cracks. You're a restaurant. Oh, on the tips that your employees are claiming, you can get a tax credit on the Social Security and Medicare taxes that you as an employer are paying on those tips your employees claim. So let's make sure we're tracking that appropriately. Let's get you a report at the end of the year so your accountant can get you back a $5,000 tax credit on that FICA tip credit because you're a restaurant. Oh, you're hiring veterans? Well, what about the work opportunity tax credit? We can get you back anywhere from between a $1,200 to a $9,600 tax credit for hiring people that fit certain qualifications and get that back for you. Right now, the big beautiful bill, and there's qualified and unqualified overtime, and then there's qualified and unqualified tips, explaining to businesses, what does that mean? And how do I need to handle that? So it's all of these little things that touch payroll, but do I have to do that? Do we have to talk about it in order to check the box that we did payroll and kept you compliant? No, absolutely not. But are these ways that you can, if you're actually doing them, can save money? Yes, absolutely. So if I'm doing my job right, even if I'm more expensive than another payroll provider, I'm going to save you money. And that's something that if you hear that on the surface, you go, well, yeah, right. But like it was actually dig into it for you and your business. And by the time I've spent 45 minutes with you talking about it, most people are like, oh, like he actually can do this, what he says. And he's not just blowing smoke. And so that's what I found has been like a big part of our success.
That's so impressive. I love the principled approach that you take. That's one of the things that's kind of struck me about the way that you operate and kind of your brand as a company community, really, is how principled you are. One of the things I wanted to talk about is the intentional effort that you have made as a business to be in downtown Dayton. You're in the hub, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are familiar with the hub, but if you're not, it's in the arcade. It's a intentional revival of the downtown area. It's a group of concerned entrepreneurs and executives. UD is involved in that, UDRI is involved in that. A lot of different community partners, including the Downtown Dayton Partnership and all of those things. You're from, grew up in Oakwood, you live in Springboro, so that created a commute for you. How did you decide? What was the moment that you were like, I'm going to plant my flag in the ground and move my business to the hub because it matters?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first started with community matters, right? It matters to be visible. It matters to not be a company that's just doing backdoor deals. Like a lot of our competitors, I think they reach out to businesses directly. They're doing kind of, they go to their office or whatever, or it's virtual online, and you never see that person out in the community. And so that was a big thing to me, is I wanted to force myself to be present in the community. I wanted to force myself to be visible. And so being downtown was a great way to do that. We also just felt like downtown's just naturally a great spot because, Dayton is urban sprawl, and, it's 15 minutes to everywhere. So, if I want to get to Oakwood, I want to get to Kettering, I want to get to Vandalia or Trotwood or whatever it is, this is a nice central place to be able to do that. And when I was first getting started 15 years ago, there was a big downtown Dayton revival going on. And I think that that played a part of it too. So Nucleus Co-Share had started up, and you guys are probably familiar with some of the founders of that. And there was a big movement for co-working at that time. And that was something that I really kind of gravitated towards and met a lot of members of that community. And a lot of those community members ended up supporting my business. And so being downtown where that community was important to me. Um, so for those reasons, we actually became tenants of the Entrepreneur Center when they were on Monument
Oh, wow.
before we came over to the hub. And then when they said they were leaving Monument and they were coming to the hub, I was one of the first people to raise my hand and said, let's get an office in there.
That's awesome.
And to the hub's credit, they actually, really took care of us and made sure they built out our spot for us. And definitely couldn't have done this without them.
I'm going to steal a page from Tony's book, and what kind of nudged me to do it is you mentioned it, the importance of community. Tony has been a advocate from the very beginning. Every single time he asks someone, or points out that small business is so important in the community. But I think a lot of people miss, and entrepreneurs or somebody that has a side hustle that wants to be a business owner, listen up to what Bryan's going to say here. Bryan, why is it you were visible in Springboro Young Professionals? You were chair of the board of directors at Springboro Chamber, out there so that people could see that you cared about the community. And when you take on roles like that, chair of a board of directors, you're not just involved. I mean, you're immersed. Will you please send a clear message to entrepreneurs here? Number one, why did you do it? And number two, why should they do it? It is so important.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I have this conversation a lot with some of my younger employees that are here in the office, and we're talking about just networking in general, whether that means joining a BNI group or a Chamber of Commerce group or whatever it might be, that there are a lot of intangible benefits to growing your network, just in general. And the long-term benefits that come from being known and being a part of the community, and being back of mind for somebody, so that when something comes up and they're like, oh yeah, I need a payroll guide, or I'm thinking about this, that your name is thrown in the hat with that. In conjunction to all of those things, I always involve myself in things that I'm passionate about, right? I live in Springboro, so I'm passionate about Springboro. So I wanted to give back to Springboro. And at the time that I was doing young professionals, I was a young professional then. So, that was exciting too, to go out and network with other young professionals. So, um, you know, it really though comes down to, you've got to be able to be visible in order for things to happen. You're not going, deals aren't just going to come your way. Good things aren't going to come your way just by sitting in the office and waiting for the phone to ring, right? You really have to go out there and put yourself out there and, one of the biggest kind of examples of that I can give is our partnership with Right Pack Credit Union. So, we're the payroll provider partner of Right Pack Credit Union. 100% of their referrals come to our firm. And the way that happened, it was really a David versus Goliath thing. It was us versus a large national provider. And our name was thrown in the hat because three people had mentioned us. One was a spouse of a high school friend. The other was somebody that I had met in a BNI networking group. And then the third person was from the Springboro Chamber of Commerce. And so it was like, if I hadn't done that BNI group 15 years ago, if I hadn't been in the Springboro Chamber of Commerce, if I hadn't stayed in touch with my high school friend and still been in good relationship with him, then our name wouldn't have been thrown in the hat to be that payroll partner for Right Pack Credit Union, and we wouldn't have this relationship that we have today. And while you can't always see what that end result is going to be from those activities, you have to trust the process. You have to understand that, like, if you put good out there in the world, good will come back to you. And it's like similar to a conversation we were having about where we add value, right? I've had clients say this to me before. It's like, I signed up for you, Bryan, because 3 years ago I asked you a question and you, without hesitation, helped me out and didn't ask me for a single dime for that. And now that I actually need you, I'm willing to sign up because you cared first. That's what matters. You weren't just chasing the dollar. And that's a big part of my brand too. And what I believe in my business. I don't have commission-based salespeople because I don't want people to be incentivized by the wrong thing. I don't want people to be chasing quotas. I don't want people to be thinking about, I got to get this deal in this month. No, what is in the best interest of that business? Let's do that first. Success will follow, and it has. And so I've never been burned by doing the right thing. So,
So good. Bryan, there's so many nuggets in here. I know you've helped a lot of entrepreneurs already. I'm now going to ask you the toughest question that we ask every person in this dialogue.
And I didn't prep him either, Tony. I should have, but I didn't prep him.
Are you ready?
sure.
So we love to continue to carry this ball forward, believing that small businesses are truly the backbone of our community. What are 3 companies, people that we need to have on this podcast to talk about their businesses and what they're doing for the Miami Valley, Southwest Ohio area?
Oh man. I was looking at your list of people that you've interviewed before in the past, and all the other videos, and there's so many people in there. And I think one of your upcoming ones that you have are like all business owners that I know, that I respect. And so I don't know if I'm going to say people that you've already had on, because
Sorry, just go for it.
a lot of the
Yep.
people that you have are good. So Jay Nigro from Liftoff Entertainment. He is a guy that I'm a big fan of. He not only started Nucleus CoShare, he was one of the co-founders of that. He also has had this long-standing business, Liftoff Entertainment. He's constantly creative and thinking of new ways to grow his business, whether that be the outdoor movie theater that he popped up during COVID, or the indoor mini golf business he put together for schools to drive another line of revenue for himself, or events that he's putting on, or downtown it's like an adult prom that he organizes, and he's a chair on the hub board. So Jay's a great person to talk to. And
I want to interrupt
yeah.
there, Bryan. Send me his contact information. You've told me enough. I'm reaching out to him when
Okay.
when we're done. Okay.
Yeah, definitely reach out to Jay. Outside of that, you just friends of mine who are good business owners, Marcy and Rick at Mr. Burroughs Tavern. They were some of my very first clients. I had actually signed up Mr. Burroughs when I worked for ADP before starting this business. And then I told him I was going off on my own, and he immediately was like, of course we're switching. We're staying with you. And so, not only are they really good friends, but also have been very supportive of our business. And they do a fantastic job with their business, and have created a really great place in Springboro that people like going. And Marcy has Gather and Graze, was a charcuterie business that she's been doing as well. That's been super successful. And Marcy's also a part of the Miami Valley Restaurant Association with Amy. So
You got to
she's
send me those. Make sure you
they're
send me those. That's very
they're great.
interesting.
They're great people. Uh, who's the third one? Um, Bernard Dalshaw from Lavender Home Care Solutions. So I've known Bernard since he was a client of ours when I worked for my dad's accounting firm. He's still somebody I consider a friend. His office is here in the hub now. He is an entrepreneur. His wife used to work for Aileron, so she's really business savvy.
Yeah.
He invented this new like contact glasses carrying case. I can't even describe it appropriately, but he's got his business. He's doing acquisitions. He's been around forever. They have this startup that they've been doing. So yeah, Bernard is a great
Those are
person.
Tony
three
is
excellent ones. We look forward to getting their connections so that we can continue to share this.
I
And
thought you said that was a
Bryan,
hard
just
question.
thank you.
Has
Thank you. I
anybody
told you
ever
it was
did
going to be
that?
hard, right? Like everyone's not ready for it, but it's always the most difficult. And also a testament
Tony, did
that
he kill
nobody
it
makes
on that or what? He killed it
nobody
on
makes
that.
it to the
Nobody
end of
has
the video.
ever
That's
did as
how
good as
people
he
don't.
did.
When people watch, they never watch to the end. So it's always a surprise. Bryan, thank you for what you do for our community. Thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast.
Thank you for
And
having
thank
me
you,
on.
everyone who's watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. And next week, we can't wait to continue the conversation with further entrepreneurs, because we know, just like you do, that is as our community goes, so does the small business. So until next time, we'll see you guys real soon.